Today's show is brought to you by justinformed.com, a social media site that never steals your data, doesn't sell your privacy, and basically won't sell you out. Go to justinformed.com and become informed. Coffee with Tim Black. Coffee with Tim Black. That's right. All right, people. How you doing? My name is Tim Black. Welcome to Coffee with Tim Black, a news show. It's a little different, though, because we give our commentary after we give you the facts, and we make no bones about how we stand on issues. So I want to welcome everybody here from Periscope to Facebook to YouTube, wherever you be. Special announcement, we will be soon available on the Roku platform. So that's coming your way, and as soon as my channel is active and you can watch me, well, on that platform, I will definitely let you know. So we are expanding things here at TBTV, TTL Media, the Tim Black Show, Coffee with Tim Black, no sellouts, and more. But today, very interesting day. A lot of news to cover, so let's get to it. Of our topics today, we have Amazon. Jeff Bezos launches a campaign of sorts to kind of do some damage control, or is it to help people? That is a question. Tulsi Gabbard, a representative out of Hawaii, makes some comments about Donald Trump that are making waves. We have updates on the Dallas shooting incident with Botham Jean. We're going to talk about that, but we like to start with Puerto Rico. Now, Puerto Rico has been the subject of conversation due to, as we know, things said by Donald Trump about Puerto Rico. We got an A+ for our recent hurricane work in Texas and Florida and did an unappreciated great job in Puerto Rico, even though an inaccessible island with very poor electricity and a totally incompetent mayor of San Juan, we're ready for... We are ready for the big one that is coming. All right, so that comment made by Donald Trump was just the beginning of a lot of a downward spiral, I would have to say, about Puerto Rico and about, as he claimed to have an A1 record on efforts in Puerto Rico. Now, this truly hit the radar again. Because, believe me, the things in Puerto Rico, the conditions in Puerto Rico haven't dramatically been improved since the hurricane. The two hurricanes. But due to Florence, Hurricane Florence hitting towards the United States, tearing up the East Coast, hitting towards North Carolina and Virginia in that area. And actually, I need to know if it's going to hit Maryland because I'm in Maryland. Well, that's kind of brought it back into light. Now there's more conversation about it, and that's why Donald Trump commented there that we're ready for the big one being Florence coming through. So, folks, look. We had this conversation just yesterday. We talked about Donald Trump, and we talked about Puerto Rico and the numbers of death. And I want to make sure that people understand where we get our numbers from, why we say 3,000 at this point, and what has changed. All right, because, see, Donald Trump...
and I actually think, and the governor's been very nice, and if you ask the governor, he'll tell you what a great job. I think probably the hardest one we had by far was Puerto Rico because of the island nature. And I actually think it was one of the best jobs that's ever been done with respect to what this is all about. Puerto Rico got hit not with one hurricane, but with two. And the problem with Puerto Rico is their electric grid and their electric generating plant was dead before the storms ever hit. It was in very bad shape. It was in bankruptcy. had no money. It was largely, closed. And when the storm hit, they had no electricity essentially before the storm, and when the storm hit, that took it out entirely. The job that FEMA and law enforcement and everybody did, working along with the governor in Puerto Rico, I think was tremendous. I think that Puerto Rico was an incredible unsung success. Texas, we have been given A-pluses for. Florida, we've been given A-pluses for. I think in a certain way, the best job we did was Puerto Rico.
What? Let's stop it there, guys, because as he's talking, it's really easy to sort of get, I don't know, just sort of lose track of what he's trying to say here and what he said, okay? All right, so the conversation, guys, is that the death toll in Puerto Rico has reached 3,000. That's a new number that was agreed upon, reached by an organization that did an investigation of I think it was the George Washington University and a study commissioned by the U.S. Commonwealth government. Okay, so maybe you've heard about this. Donald Trump, in his own words, in this press conference, he talks about lack of electricity. He talks about the closed-off nature of Puerto Rico, all of the conditions that currently reside in Puerto Rico. But when they say that the death toll has climbed to 3,000 based on this report, he denies it and says that it is a political sabotage. All right, you can't have it both ways. Donald Trump just said that he knows that there's no electricity. But still, he floats this idea that there is some type of sabotage, that this is politically motivated, that numbers have been artificially inflated in order to make him look bad. Guys, do you understand what I'm saying here? This makes no sense. People didn't die so Donald Trump could look bad. Now, I know a lot of people don't like Donald Trump, but nobody's killing themselves or allowing themselves to perish slowly in agonizing conditions just to make Donald Trump look bad on MSNBC. All right, so I have a clip I'd like to share with you. Lord damn it, I tell you, man, when you think you're at rock bottom, the bottom gets rockier and deeper. All right. Rockier and deeper goes the bottom. Here we go. I have a video clip. This is courtesy of CBS News, okay? And the reason why I'm sharing this clip with you, is because, well, hell, it's important for you to see the governor of Puerto Rico, and he's going to discuss the situation in Puerto Rico, all right? And his reaction to Donald Trump's comments and his tweets and all the other nonsense.
Hey, it's me, Wilco here, and I wanted to thank you once again for joining me on the Viral Hacking Masterclass.
President Trump is rejecting the revised death toll from Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico. Earlier, he tweeted 3,000 people did not die in the two hurricanes that hit the island. He also said there were 6 to 18 deaths when he visited Puerto Rico after the storm.
The president went on to blame Democrats for trying to make him look as bad as possible when he was successfully raising billions of dollars to help rebuild Puerto Rico. Well, Puerto Rico Governor Ricardo Rosselló is with us now. Governor, I think the first thing we want to ask you is, how do you react to a tweet like that?
Well, first of all, my thoughts and prayers with the people of Carolina. Of course, we know what they're going through, or going to go through, and we're here to help. Secondly, with regards to the message, I just have to say that neither the people of Puerto Rico nor the victims deserve their pain to be questioned. We went through a rigorous scientific process. We externalized the investigation so that it was an independent investigation. In a previous lifetime, I was a scientist, so I evaluated all that went through, and we are very confident that under the current situations here in Puerto Rico, the value of the investigation was very good. It was very robust, and therefore that's why I decided to take the initiative to establish as the official death toll number the 2,975 that the investigation threw out. So we are confident in that estimate. We need to clarify that it's always, at least at this juncture, going to be an estimate, but we're confident that it is very much so around that number.
Governor, I just want to read for our viewers the tweet that the president posted earlier today. He wrote this: after the storm hit, they had anywhere from 6 to 18 deaths. As time went by, it did not go up by much. Then, after a long time later, they started to report really large numbers, like 3,000. This was done by the Democrats to make me look as bad as possible. Governor, what are the nearly 3 million Puerto Ricans you represent saying to you about the President of the United States seemingly politicizing the deaths of nearly 3,000 citizens of this country?
Well, we can't politicize this. Nobody can. We need to be above that sort of discussion. And certainly there's a reason why the number, the death toll sort of rose significantly. We had an inadequate mechanism protocol when the storm came through Puerto Rico. As soon as we realized that it was inadequate and under the lackluster conditions that we had here in Puerto Rico, we embarked on looking for a study that would be independent and that would give us a real scientific estimate on what the death toll was in Puerto Rico. And that's why there is that seemingly high jump. But really, if you listen to all of our communications, mine in particular, every time we spoke about the death toll numbers in the early going after the storm, we always knew that number was going to be much higher. We just needed to have a real, a better mechanism for identifying them.
You know, Governor, that report that you commissioned from George Washington University, it didn't just determine the death toll. It also made a list of recommendations to help Puerto Rico moving forward should it have to deal with another natural disaster like this. You know, the president won't even acknowledge that death toll number is accurate. How confident are you that the federal government will be there should you face another hurricane or something else?
Well, we are hopeful that they are going to continue to be here. I mean, we are U.S. citizens. The federal government needs to do right by our U.S. citizens, and so far, as I stated in the past, we've had good relationships. We've had good results on some parts and bad results on some part. Now, our job as leaders is not to fuss over it or to fight. Our job is to identify what is done well and keep on doing it, and what was done wrong, mitigate it and do it better moving towards the future. So I am hopeful that this will be the case, but I want to take the opportunity because it's very important. You know, a lot of folks are concerned about the treatment of the people of Puerto Rico, and I am grateful for that empathy. The truth of the matter is that unequal treatment has been in Puerto Rico for over a century. We are a colonial territory of the United States, and the unequal treatment stems from treatment in Medicaid, federal programs, lacking political power so that we can have representation. So my petition to all of the viewers, and particularly to all elected officials, is if we really want to do something about this inequality, we need to do something about the second-class citizenship treatment that U.S. citizens get in Puerto Rico. We need to eradicate colonialism in the United States. I mean, how can we be, as the United States, how can we be the standard bearer of democracy in the world if we don't value democracy in our own backyard? How can we have over 3 million U.S. citizens that don't have the right to vote, that are disenfranchised, and that after the storm, it is evident that the treatment that was given, say, in Florida or in Texas was very different than the treatment given in Puerto Rico. So I am hopeful that as we continue having this conversation, as we get the opportunity in programs such as this to express our views and to showcase what the needs of the people of Puerto Rico, we will also tackle the underlying problem here. We are second-class U.S. citizens. We live in a colonial territory. It is time to eliminate that. And I implore all of the elected officials, particularly now in midterm elections, to have a firm stance. You're either for colonial territories or against it. You're either for giving equal rights to the U.S. citizens that live in Puerto Rico, or you're against it. I challenge all of the elected officials to state their position, and it's time to put up or shut up.
Governor, you're right to point out the historic relationship between the.
All right, guys. I hope that you can hear that. I hope that it's coming through clear, because I think that's a very important, what the governor Wazello, hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, what he just stated there, that the issues with Puerto Rico go far beyond the hurricane, and that they are centered around the fact that we have U.S. citizens who don't have voting rights, therefore they have no political capital. They don't have the opportunity to take advantage of programs that would help Puerto Rico. So my hat's off totally to the governor for bringing that up, using this opportunity to jump out there and say, hey, this is an issue. This is not a partisan issue. This is something that has existed, he said, for a century, since the colonization of Puerto Rico. So this is not a Donald Trump issue as far as the conditions of Puerto Rico in general. It existed under all presidents, all the presidents since the colonization of Puerto Rico. What are we not getting? All presidents. Yes, Obama. Yes, Clinton. Yes, Reagan. All right, so count all your 40s. You don't want to call Trump a president, call him 45, fine. It exists under him too, and all the others, all the other 40s. So I just want to kind of run down to you just because I see division about the numbers. The numbers. You have no electricity and people are dying. People have died. No clean water. Access to clean water hard to get. Get it? Access. Look, people have medicines that need to keep cool. You can't keep the medicines refrigerated because you have no electricity. People died. People didn't have access to health care. Shut off roads, no way to travel. People died. People in hospitals. In sweltering heat. Those people perished. What are we not getting? Are we so entrenched in our corners about support of either Donald Trump or hate for the government or hate for media that we would just say, no, it can't be possible that people without electricity and access to clean water and food would die? And those people, we need to sit around arguing about numbers instead of saying, okay, what do we need to do now? How are we doing now? And what if that was your family member? What if that was happening here in the mainland of the United States? Would your reaction be a little bit different? All right, so so I was a little stunned at the number myself, because it fell out of the media. No one was tracking it continuously. Well, no one on mainstream was tracking it continuously. I know there are a lot of activists. If I'm not mistaken, I think I interviewed at least one activist that was in Puerto Rico at the time. But not in the mainstream have I seen continuous coverage of Puerto Rico as the numbers, as the data was coming in. But there have been incremental increases in the numbers in the reporting. It didn't just go 64 to 3,000, but you have to dig to see that information. The president was correct when he was, sort of correct. When he was there, the death toll number was estimated between 8 and 16. Not 18, 8 and 16. Okay? Then as soon as he left, it had risen to 34. In December, the new number, the revised official count, was 64. Then it rose to 1,562. This was reported by the New York Times. And it just goes up and up and up. You know, it's a horrible situation when we have such little trust in our media, such little trust in the president, such little trust in each other that we can't agree on anything. Not even death. And like I said, I want to applaud the governor of Puerto Rico, Mr. Rosello, for highlighting the real issue here, the underlying issue that left Puerto Rico in such a fragile situation was a lack of infrastructure, a lack of preparedness, a lack of budgeting, a lack of the ransacking that has happened in Puerto Rico. When Donald Trump talks about it was already in a bad condition before the hurricane, both hurricanes, it's like you already know then, Trump, that makes sense that a lot of people died. You just said they were already in bad condition. They are U.S. citizens. If they are U.S. citizens, then that's our responsibility. The same as it would be if it was Texas or Maryland or Los Angeles. All right, folks. Chat people, do you understand where I'm coming from? I think it makes sense. What are people not getting here, folks? What are we missing out on? Why come people can't get this? Are people getting it? And no, we just or is it just a bunch of idiots on Twitter? Okay. Jared Pierce points out this, an important point. He says, lack of sanitation is the cause of most deaths in these situations. Thank you, Jared. I appreciate it. Paul Wolfrey says, because it's a territory, it's much harder to stop or to render aid. Thank you, Paul Wolfrey. All right. You know, we could do an entire show on just Puerto Rico. We really could, and maybe we should. Maybe we should do an entire show on that. So, how many people know who this lady is? Her name is Tulsi Gabbard. She's a member of Congress for the great state of Hawaii, and she has been a staunch supporter of ending interventionist wars, and she speaks out about that very routinely. She also had the courage to resign her position as vice chair of the DNC back in 2016 because she did not support the policies, particularly the military policies of Hillary Clinton. She thought that Bernie Sanders was a better, not the best he could possibly be in the world, not infallible, but the best choice, particularly when it comes to military, herself being a veteran and from a veteran family. Well, Tulsi Gabbard recently went on the Joe Rogan show, which is great. I thought that was fantastic. And she made, and subsequently, she's been making some comments about Trump, but not just about Trump, but also about America. Trump is the president, so when there's criticism of America, the president is where the buck stops. So Tulsi Gabbard, she spoke about this on 9/11. Excuse me. She pointed out that Donald Trump paid tribute to the victims of Al-Qaeda even while protecting the terrorist groups' last stronghold in Syria, which this speaking out this tweet that she put out, and I'll share it with you now.
Nobody would understand that. I mean, it's harder to understand. It was a very hard thing to do because of the fact.
Okay, enough Trump. While President Trump and Vice President Pence give 9/11 speeches about how much they care about the victims of Al-Qaeda's attacks on our country, they are simultaneously acting as protesters or protectors of AQ in Syria, AQ being Al-Qaeda, Idlib, threatening Russia and Syria that if they attack Al-Qaeda, we will punish them. Okay? So that's her statement, and of course her statement received a lot of backlash from the supporters of Trump and those who like what we're doing in Syria. They like the fact that we are being a part of actually helping Al-Qaeda in Syria for some strange reason. I don't understand it. The Congresswoman also was peppered with accusations of whitewashing the real bad guys in Syria. Gabbard may have been the only lawmaker to draw attention to the troubling contradiction, but similar observations found fertile ground across social media. Others highlighted how the Western media outlets, following the example of the U.S. government, had rebranded al-Qaeda as rebels. Rebels under siege in Syria. The New York Times went so far as to praise the terrorist group as de facto government authority, facilitating trade across the long border with Turkey and organizing aid deliveries. So al-Qaeda goes from being a menace, a terrorist organization, to now being praised by the New York Times. And then people say, well, why would you call New York Times fake news? And what don't you get? So hats off to Tulsi Gabbard for pointing out the hypocrisy of our foreign policy, particularly as it pertains to the Middle East and our work in Syria. You know, folks, the demonization of Russia, I understand it's been deafening, like the continuous onslaught of how evil Russia is, but we have to pay a little bit of attention to what's going on in the rest of the world and realize why Russia may be demonized. It may not just be about, did they have some hackers? It may be, well, we don't want them in Syria. Because remember, Russia wants to keep Assad in power. We do not want Assad in power. It's all connected. And Assad is fighting who? Al-Qaeda. All right, folks. We do what we can with what we have. I got another story, of course, that and this is another issue. Now, yesterday I had the opportunity to have on Ro Khanna once again. He returned to the show, and there's a piece of legislation that we were discussing. It's the Bezos Act, the Stop Bezos Act. And we talked about how this legislation is important because it highlights how corporations, and it's not just about Amazon, but yeah, Amazon is like one of the worst offenders. Let's keep it real. But how these big corporations have been making so much money and receiving so many subsidies through our government, taxpayer revenue, and then keeping it to themselves and giving it to their shareholders, but not passing it on to the workers. As a result, we have many workers in these huge corporations that do not have the ability to take care of themselves. They don't make a livable wage, so they rely on government programs such as SNAP or food stamps, housing assistance, these things. So the Stop Bezos Act is to penalize these corporations when they have employees that do not pay, or employees that have to take out government programs in order to survive, have to rely on them. Well, these big corporations, these CEOs would have to pay taxes in the amount of the government program dollar amount that the employees receive because you're not paying them enough. So there's been no secret that Bernie Sanders has been very active in criticism of not just Bezos, but other big corporations such as Disney, Walmart. There could be a lot more added to that list. Well, today, Amazon's Bezos launched a $2 billion fund to help the homeless. $2 billion fund to help the homeless. Okay. Oh, this is page 4. I'm sorry. Let's go to page 1. Now, this is the long tweet that was posted by Jeff Bezos. Will get me out of here as we go through this. Day One Fund is the name of the fund. Jeff Bezos, the world's richest man, is launching a $2 billion fund to help homeless families and create a network of nonprofit preschools in low-income communities. I talk often about the importance of maintaining a day one mentality. It's always day one, and I work hard to apply that mindset to everything I do. It was the day one outlook that made me reach out to ask for suggestions on approaches to philanthropy last year. by so many important measures that the world keeps getting better, and it's one of the fantastic aspects of human nature. And we humans never stop looking for and finding ways to improve things. Our lives are better than our great-grandparents' lives, and their lives are better than their great-grandparents' blah, 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 blah. Man, if you don't cut... Look, I had all of this long 4-part summary thing, essay that Bezos wrote. Basically, let me boil it down for you. Hey, that old bastard Bernie Sanders is making me look bad, this socialist communist bastard, calling out my hypocrisy of being the world's richest man. Meanwhile, I pay basically slave wages when I could definitely pay more without even noticing that I did. So in order to quelch and in order to stop the bleeding of my brand, and it's making me horrible at dinner parties, I'm going to, set aside a little bit of money to go ahead and help out, a little bit. As get a kid some ice cream cones or something. I don't know. I gotta come up with something to keep this Bernie guy and this Ro Khanna guy off my ass. That's basically what he did. That's basically what this says. 4 pages of, hey, guys, hey, don't come with the pitchforks. I'm going to do something. Here goes a couple coins, kids. Jeff Bezos, if you really want to help the world, if you want to prove your humanitarian thoughts, your empathy for Americans and for the world, actually, well, won't you just go ahead and pay your employees a little bit more, and we can end this. That's what you do. Yeah, do this, but do the other thing too. Start a charitable organization that helps low-income families. And also, pay your employees a little bit more. How hard is that? You wouldn't even miss the money. What am I missing, folks, about these tycoons, these oligarchs? What am I not getting? Why won't you just raise the standard of living to a livable wage for your employees? Man, I understand it if you only got $20 and somebody wants $12. But when you got $1 billion and you could cure world hunger or at least all of the homelessness in Seattle, why not just do it? Well, one important thing from this we should glean, folks, is that don't tell me that social pressure doesn't work. It does. This didn't come out of thin air. The pressure that's been applied to Jeff Bezos by Bernie Sanders, Ro Khanna, and many other activists, I want to pay respect to those activists who have also called him out, independent media for calling him out, the occasional corporate journalist that's called him out. That's what pushed him in this direction. Wasn't just a bolt of lightning hitting him in the butt cheeks. It was us. It was people. When you're up against a big corporation, the only leverage you really have is public opinion. Instead of boycotting Nike, maybe we should boycott businesses that don't pay their employees a livable wage. Well, Tim, then they'd close businesses and then people wouldn't have jobs at all. See, it's always the catch-22. We have to use our political muscle. So Jeff Bezos, the Bezos Day One Fund will issue annual awards to organizations that are doing compassionate, needle-moving work to shelter and support the immediate needs of young families. The billionaire announced in a blog post on Thursday. His vision statement comes from Murray's Place in Seattle. No child sleeps outside. So, it is what it is. My segment with Ro Khanna, as he explains in detail about the Bezos Act, is available on my YouTube channel. Please go check it out. It's a very interesting sit-down discussion about it. We get into the details of the legislation, and the purpose behind it is to apply pressure to the Walmarts, to the Nikes, to the Amazons, to the Disneys, to the McDonald's corporations, all of them, to better compensate their employees. They're making record high profits. It makes no damn sense. All right, folks. Now, this is where I tell you, because it's important to remember, coffee. Coffee. Tim Black Show. The Tim Black Show is not brought to you by any organization, any group of backstabbing bastards or what have you. The Tim Black Show is brought to you by you.
I have known since you were very young.
And other people who contribute to the show. If you appreciate this content, if you value an independent voice is not beholden to the DNC, the GOP, the RNC, Walt Disney, or Amazon, or any of these other corporations, well, then become a member of the Tim Black Show. Join my wolf pack today. All right. Now, folks, we've talked about this story often on this show because I think it's important, once again, to highlight news and to give you updates and not just be a one-hitter quitter on stories that are important to society. As we discussed before, the shooting of a Dallas resident in his own home by a Dallas police officer by the name of Amber Geiger has made national attention. Something horrific is happening in that case right now as we speak. Investigators are looking into the man who was in his home minding his own business when an officer entered his home and shot and killed him while she was off duty with no warrant, with no reason to be there. They are investigating him at this point. They are looking into his background. Now, why am I shocked at this? Tim Black, you've been doing this 6 years, 7 years. By now, aren't you used to this BS, Tim Black? Well, I like to say I get used to it, but I just don't. You know, I'm still a human being. It still sometimes surprises me how bigoted and backwards and biased our system is. I mean, just when you think, oh man, it can't get any worse than this, it gets worse than that. Botham Jean was in his home minding his own business and he was murdered, and now he is the subject of investigation. As they search for reasons why he may have deserved to be killed in his own home, the fact remains, this case has stunk from day one. The narrative of the media has been focused on poor Amber Geiger. How much time has been spent discovering or creating a narrative around the man who was killed? All the conversations focus around, hey, how'd she feel? Hey, was she too tired? Hey, was she on drugs? Hey, did she just accidentally go to the wrong house? Hey, what was wrong? Hey. How many of these commentators or how many of these news channels have really focused on Botham Jean? You know, the dead guy. Very few of them have. We need to focus more on the victims, less on the perpetrators of said crimes. As this story continues to go on and on, as it slowly inches towards the system, I don't know. Well, the justice system. As it slowly gets there, I guess, we'll continue to update you on it. But I can tell you right now, it's taking a turn for the worse and the worse. It's as if there can be no justice at all. I mean, if Botham Jean is not a poster child or a poster man for an upstanding citizen, what is? It's an employee at Price Waterhouse, a devout Christian, a pastor, cutting down in his own home in his boxers. by an officer who lived below him. And you buy that she just went to the wrong home and went in the wrong door. How'd she get in the wrong door? With doors that close automatically behind you. And if she thought it was her house, wouldn't she be like surprised that she left her own door ajar? I mean, that's the new talking point. Don't tell me that social issues aren't important issues. They're important to everyone else in society except you, because you live in a bubble where the only thing that matters is Donald Trump. There was something else I wanted to touch on. Something else. It escapes me now, folks. Chat room, something else I wanted to discuss. We touched on Amazon, Tulsi Gabbard, Puerto Rico, the tragedy of Botham Jean's murder in Dallas. What else did we leave out? Oh, great, my YouTube's not connected. Maybe it doesn't like when I move between screens, but I have to move between screens. Dabbing Gooden. Yeah, Dabbing Gooden says, once you see how much you've been lied to about the world we live in, you come to the understanding that almost everything we thought we knew is actually not the truth. Right. Frederick Murphy, how many others just like her are running around with a badge and a gun every day? Thank you, Frederick Murphy, many. Yeah, another commenter, Dabbing Good, says, yeah, you think she would have noticed that the furniture wasn't the same. Yeah, you would think she would have noticed that, but hey, that's only us earthlings. Only us earthlings. That's regular, regular people with brains that function. Anyway, guys, look, the Tim Black at Night show will be here at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to continue conversations on news that is developing. All my friends out there, members of the Wolfpack, please, guys, be safe. The storm is a-coming, and I don't want any bad reports about my friends out there. So I just want you to be careful and take all what would they say, precautionary measures to make sure that you're not in harm's way as this storm burrows down the East Coast. I don't know. I'm at a loss for words at this point. I think we said all we can say about these cases. We have to continue to speak truth to power, all of us, and that includes you too. So become a member of Tim Black's Wolfpack and hit me up on Twitter and Facebook and YouTube. It's Real Tim Black. You'll find me there. I'm not hard to find. I'm also on Instagram as Tim Black at Night. Yeah. I think that's it, guys. There was something's bugging me. You know what? If I remember what it was, I must not have wrote it down. I've only got 4 topics written down here. Shout out to the people of Puerto Rico, my Puerto Rican brothers and sisters. I know you need more than shout outs. I know you need aid, you need support from your fellow citizens. So guys, find an organization in Puerto Rico. It's always best to go local with organizations that you want to help. It's been my experience that those do the most work, and the more of the money gets to the actual cause that you're trying to champion for. So I encourage you all to look up an organization or two and give donations to Puerto Rico to help the people on the ground. All right, guys. That's all I got. My name is Tim Black for TB TV, TTL Media. I'll see you on the next one until we talk again. Remember, don't let nobody take your cornbread. There's these some cornbread taking people, I'm trying to tell you. Talk to you soon.
Black.
Coffee with Tim Black. That's right.